Hi, my name is Brett Linkletter, CEO and founder of Misfit Media, the best damn restaurant marketing agency on the planet. Here at Misfit, we help restaurant owners grow and scale their business through strategic online marketing practices. Right now, you're listening to our podcast, Restaurant Misfits, where we'll discuss all things related to restaurant marketing, management, and everything else in between growing a restaurant business. This podcast is also brought to you in collaboration with Total Food Service. For over 30 years, Total Food Service has provided the restaurant and food service industry with exclusive interviews to the latest news on products, trends, associations, and events. You can sign up for a free monthly subscription by visiting TotalFood.com today. And from all the Misfits over here, we hope you enjoy the show. Cheers. In this episode, I interview Elena Besser, a Brooklyn-based, Chicago-bred chef and TV host. She hosts live cooking classes on Food Network Kitchen and can be seen on the cooking channels Best Thing I Ever Ate, as well as Food Network's Beat Bobby Flay. She firmly believes food and entertainment should be intertwined and makes some really strong points behind this. Just in the way that Elena describes food in her dishes, it made me so hungry. I ran out to our office kitchen directly after we finished this podcast so I could go devour my lunch early. I can't explain exactly what she did, but it was insane and it worked, right? She's also a host of the new show, Breakfast with Besser, a celebrity cooking show where she chats with celebrity guests, including some of Hollywood's hungriest stars, as she guides them in cooking breakfast dishes specifically crafted for them. Elena's passion for spreading accessible and exciting cooking and culinary tips to others shines through everything she does. It's pretty incredible. You know, we had such a great conversation and there's so much value punched into this episode. So let's get straight into it. Elena, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It seems like in the restaurant space in general, people are a lot happier. The morale's a little better. Things are opening up a little bit more, which is great. But how are things for you? You have such an interesting background. You're a chef, a producer, basically a TV personality, it looks like. What's going on with you?
Oh man, many a things. I would say that the latest happenings is that my new show just came out on Food Network Kitchen. It is called Breakfast with Besser. It is a celebrity talk show meets cooking show where I invite some of Hollywood's hungriest stars into the Breakfast with Besser kitchen. I grill them with questions, and then we go into the kitchen and they create a dish that I have crafted specifically for them. It's all breakfast themed.
Wow.
Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. So we filmed that actually in August, and it came out in October, and it's available on the Food Network Kitchen app. 6 episodes, Broadway stars, cast members from SNL. The list goes on.
Wow, that's amazing. And just out of curiosity, I mean, so it's all breakfast with these celebrities. What kind of breakfast do these celebrities like making the most, or what do they enjoy?
Oh man, so we do a ton of research on every single guest before they arrive on set. And of course, I created all of the recipes for the guests. So a lot of the research, we would figure out what the guests' dietary restrictions, allergies, what they love, what they don't love, and then essentially we crafted dishes for them. So for example, one of the guests on the show is Chris Redd from SNL, and he is an actor, former rapper. He actually does a lot of the songs. He writes and produces a lot of the songs that are on SNL. Nice. He just did the Stroll into the Polls one, which was hilarious. And he's from Chicago. He, in the past, has gone on a whole Twitter rant about how he loves biscuits, but they can't be dusty. So what we did is we created a Chicago-style breakfast biscuit sandwich for him. So that is a homemade buttermilk biscuit with white onion, poppy seeds, and sport peppers, which is like a similar heat level to a serrano pepper. And then we did grilled hot dogs. We did celery salt, soft scrambled eggs, tomato, relish and mustard sauce, and am I missing it? And pickles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Um, any from doing all of this, have you noticed any kind of trends in food? I mean, like what people are most attracted to? Like, I mean, more specifically, I guess in the celebrity scene, because oftentimes, obviously, right, what celebrities are doing, other people follow. Are you seeing any kind of food trends that you're doing, or is everyone kind of different?
Oh man, I mean, it's really tough. I would say that a lot of the time people, whenever I'm approaching a recipe, I always try to think about nostalgia,
Yep.
and what is going to be really approachable. I think that a lot of the time people find inspiration with recipes through those two things. And even though I'm a nerd that like loves the science of food and would spend hours prepping a dish, I find that a lot of the people that are looking on Food Network and other places to cook a
Mm-hmm.
recipe want something that's easy, that has a lot of flavor, that doesn't require a ton of work. So I always try to find the balance between the two. I would say from like a trend standpoint, yes, there were moments of like, okay, recreations of nostalgic foods, recreations of rainbow foods was a big thing at one point. But I will say that as time has gone on, I find that people are caring less and less about the like food trendy moments,
Mm,
and they're caring more about stuff that like actually tastes good, that isn't too difficult to make.
got it. What do you mean by that, by the way, of making food with nostalgia? Like, what are nostalgic foods?
Oh, nostalgic foods. I would say, well, there are certain things that people, for example, my one of my most popular recipes is actually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
No
And
way.
yeah, it's really weird.
What?
But the reason why is because I put it on potato bread to start, and then I do peanut butter, raspberry jam, homemade raspberry jam, and then I'll put sumac on top of it and flaky sea salt.
Got it.
And so half my family lives in Israel, so a lot of the cuisine that I prepare is Middle Eastern inspired.
Nice.
Um, and sumac has this like amazing tangy note that is really reminiscent of lemons. And it has this great acidity to it. So it really brings out and balances those floral notes and fruity notes within the jam.
Got it.
But those are the kinds of things where it's like, okay, what is something that you enjoyed as a kid that you loved that has a creative twist that is not too complicated, but simultaneously feels delicious and different and kind of fancy.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Man, the PB and J. I mean, that is the
Right?
I miss PB and J's.
Yeah, don't sleep on the PB&J.
Seriously. Any others that you've seen come up quite a bit other than the PB and J?
Oh man, from like from my own recipes that have become popular.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
I mean, I'll tell you in LA, it seems like every single person wants avocado toast.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, a little too
Are you
much.
based in LA?
We're based in LA. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I'm in LA right now.
Oh, I live in Venice Beach.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gorgine. It's freezing here. It's warmer in New York than it is in LA.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. That's what I heard from some of our clients in New York. It's really weird. You know what's funny about Californians too is it can be raining just a little bit or a little bit of wind and everyone's panicking, but then
Yeah.
there can be an earthquake and nobody gives a shit.
Right. I love that. That's hilarious.
Which is so interesting. But yeah, any other kind of dishes that have seen come up that just keep coming around? Only reason I ask is because, you know, oftentimes
tell me why.
restaurants, you know, especially they're trying to capitalize on these next food trends, right? I spoke to a chef last week. His name's Steven Yen. He's one of the executive chefs at Tao Group, and they're always looking into food groups and they're always food trends. And what's interesting about what he told me too is they're also looking into foods that they're going to get social engagement, right? So he was saying, you know, a big thing for him was how can we create something that is delicious but also looks so good that you got to post it on Instagram? Because for them, right, that's a huge way of marketing their brand, right, through other people's social content. And I'm assuming for you, obviously, as an entertainer and being in the space, and I mean, you are a food personality and everything you do, so all your foods must be beautiful as well, I'm assuming, to look at on camera, right?
I try to. I mean, my background is the first job I ever had in the food space is that I started the video department for a company called Spoon University that was eventually acquired by the Food Network. And we did it was right at the beginning of the food video movement. So we launched right before Tasty even launched their like hands and pans videos.
Wow.
And a lot of the work that we did was analysis on like what would be trending and what people loved. And it is true. You really do eat with your eyes first, and people have so much more fun diving into an experience that is visually stunning and simultaneously tastes really great and is well executed. So it does make a lot of sense that you had this conversation with that chef, because the truth is, like, to this day, even so, like, when people go, we are such a visual generation. And when people are going to a restaurant or making that reservation, they typically go to Instagram or go to their Resi page and look at the food photos, so they know in advance what dish is going to be coming to their table, so they're not disappointed. And I would say, as far as trends are concerned, definitely, I mean, there's like the classic idea of, okay, what is it really colorful? Is there an egg yolk? Is there an oozing thing, a dripping thing, a cheese pull? Those are all the things that people get really hyped on.
Yes.
I would say there definitely was a moment where like decadence was huge. I mean, think back to the black tap crazy milkshake trend that used to happen. But I think today, and with the foods that I create, I always try to make sure that they are really visually pleasing. I think that there are having great ingredients first and foremost is really the key to any amazing dish. But when it comes, I feel like, you know, everything bagel spice is a thing. People love seeing like black and white sesames, tahini paste things, stuff that is bright green. I used to cook at a restaurant called Lilia, and while I was there, one of the things that became really popular on the menu, aside from the sheep's milk agnolotti, I would say the three things that were really popular were the malfaldini, which is the pink peppercorn pasta that looks like spaghetti and lasagna noodles had a baby. Having those really beautiful ridges on that pasta mixed with the sauce actually being almost a pink color because of the pink peppercorn was a massive hit. And then simultaneously, the agnolotti has this beautiful yellow color because it has saffron infused into it, and then these bright red sun-dried San Marzano tomatoes. And the third thing that was really popular was the house focaccia with the bright green garlic or ram butter. And having stuff that is super vibrant, really pops, makes you stop in your tracks. Those are the things that are going to be the most trendy, if you will. Yes, wow. The avocado toast, it will survive forever. It will always be king. The matcha stuff has had a huge moment. I personally am feeling very happy that I think the like aggressive food trends have kind of calmed down a bit, because there's nothing worse than chasing a trend and having the dish itself actually taste like shit, just for the sake of the trend. Like for me, I really have trouble creating foods that have tons of fake food coloring in them and all of those types of things. That I'm really trying to move past that, because at the end of the day, I think, you know, let's eat what nature has given us. We've been so disrespectful to Mother Nature already. Let's try to, you know, undo some of that.
Got it. Do you do a lot of the celebrities you cook for any specific real diets that you're seeing more common? Like, I mean, going back to LA, right? It seems like every other day there's another girl that goes vegan, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
I hear you.
I mean, is that something you're seeing from your end, or people more interested in meat alternatives or going more vegetarian?
I mean, there's definitely stuff that involves like people being, I've come across vegans, I come across a lot of gluten-free, a
Yep.
lot of paleo as well. I mean, Andre DeShields, one of our guests, he's an Oscar away from an EGOT. He was the original Wiz in The Wiz on Broadway.
Mm,
And he is paleo. So for the dish that we
got it.
created for him, we made sure that it was all of his favorite things. We actually made a breakfast salad for him, which was really fun, with
Nice.
beet cured salmon, avocado, fennel, a Dijon vinaigrette, and some toasted macadamia nuts, which was really fun. And he absolutely loved that because the dude eats one meal a day, which is wild. But he also like is a 74-year-old man and straight up acts like a 20-year-old, which maybe I
Wow.
should only eat one meal a day and maybe I should become paleo and only eat those foods that we put in the salad. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, I mean, Leah Delaria, she has some dietary restrictions as well. So she's a diabetic, so we made sure that we didn't have anything that had too much. We actually did a carb-free eggs Benedict for her,
Oh,
which was cool. And we did like a fake it till you make it hollandaise sauce and cream spinach as well,
very cool.
and homemade pork sausage for her. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, like for me, I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not vegan. My sister's vegetarian. I love dairy. I'm from the Midwest. My dad's from Wisconsin. Like cheese
Got
is
it.
my favorite food. So I'm really of the mindset of make sure that whatever you're eating is really great quality, that you
Yep.
don't consume all of the meat that I consume is ethically sourced, and ethically killed for the most part, however ethical killing an animal. But
Elena,
you know what I mean.
by the way, I'm the exact same way. I eat anything you put in front of me. Um, but what I will say, the way that you just describe food in general is so beautiful. Like seriously.
You're sweet, sir.
No,
Thank you.
no, seriously, it's almost like, man, I feel like you could train like a huge list of employees at some giant restaurant corporation on how to just describe their food better. I mean, because that's where the sale is made, right? All these servers when they're describing. I mean, I was at dinner last night at a place in Venice called Wabi, and
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the menu. I was like, everything looks good to me. I mean, what do you
Right.
think? And the guy's like, well, this is the most popular. I was like, well, what do you like about it? And the guy's like, the menu can describe it better. And
You're like, no.
I was just so turned off by that, and like I ended up still getting it. It was really damn good. Wabi's a great place,
Good.
by the way. If you're in the area, if you want
Yeah.
to get something in Venice, you're in the area. But I just, I think it's so important to describe these things in such detail. The way you've done it, it's almost like you should do a video on just the way you describe things. It might be a subconscious thing, but you're doing. I'm
Thank
getting
you.
hungry just hearing you talk about it. That's all I'm
I
saying.
appreciate you saying that. I mean, my first ever gig in food TV, was that I booked Best Thing I Ever Ate on Cooking Channel. So that show is all about talking about your favorite
Mm,
dishes at restaurants, how they're prepared, and why you love them. And I mean, I come from a theater background. I studied theater and film at Northwestern.
got it.
I always had plans to become an actor. And then I absolutely fell in love with cooking and the creativity associated with it and the instant ability to make someone feel joy when you put a dish in front of them, which to be
Yeah,
honest isn't far away from acting. I mean, acting, you perform to make people feel a certain way. And for
totally.
me, I loved food because I was like, oh shit, you can both integrate, you can make someone feel something, but not only are you engaged in acting, you're engaging, sight, sound. In food, there's touch, there's taste, there's smell. It's
Yes.
so much more sensory driven. And I have a little sister on the autism spectrum, and sensory based experiences and her senses are totally different the way she experiences them, and that's typical for people on the autism spectrum.
Got it.
So for me, I don't know, I just have this passion around engaging senses and also then thinking about how every single sense interacts with food. And I try to describe food through that way, if that makes any sense. That's a long-winded answer, but
no, is it weird that even when you're describing how you describe food is making me hungry?
You sweet sir. I mean, you just thank you so much.
Seriously. No, but there's also something about like, you know, you have a lot, you made some really good points here though, about like specifically the entire experience, not just about, hey, the food's on your plate and there you go, but walking into, let's say, a restaurant, just the way the food is described to you, the way that it's displayed, the way that it looks, the way that it tastes, the way that you leave. I mean, I'm getting hungry listening to you talk about this, and whatever I eat next is probably going to taste a little bit better because I'm ready to eat now, right? And I think a lot of people, a lot of restaurants specifically that, you know, that we work with or talk with, I think they forget these things, right? They, you know, we hear restaurants say all the time, you know, great food and service is all you need. But really, what does that mean? Like, okay, great food, obvious one, food's got to taste good. But
Right.
what about this? What about the service behind it? What about the service before and after your meal? What you know, what happens during the meal? I mean, all kinds of things, right? And I think people forget these things. But seriously, I think if you got a video on this explaining how you explain food, that might be something pretty cool. How did you? So you started as an actress in the entertainment space. Now you're doing this. Why food? Why did you jump into it?
Well, when I was really little, my mom, my whole family always used to say, Elena, she just loves to eat. Like, she is so into eating. She's such a good eater. There are so many photos of me as a kid. Like, one of my favorite ones is my family would go to the Wisconsin Walworth County State Fair every year.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a picture of me sitting in a stroller with a giant dill pickle, and my hands are too small to wrap around the perimeter of the pickle, and I'm like taking a bite out of it. So I always loved eating growing up. It was a big part of everything that I did. I mean, I'm a middle child. I'm one of 5. We have a huge family, and anytime our family would get together, it would always be about food. And I mean, my family's definitely like Midwestern meat and potatoes. Like, when I think about quintessential meals, it was barbecued chicken with corn and a salad with Italian dressing from a bottle. And, you know, I joke that at my upbringing, I was 80% Kraft mac and cheese. A lot of just like standard bologna sandwiches with American cheese on white bread with mayo, like a lot of standard classic American classics. But I think that as I got older and the more that I delved into performance and acting, the more I realized that, like, I knew I was good at acting. I knew that I had a lot to offer, but I didn't want to wait around for someone to pick me. And I didn't want to spend my life just waiting for someone to say yes. And at the end of the day, all you really need is one yes to get to where you want to go. You just need that one yes to open the door. And so when I went to college and got my first apartment there, I had my first kitchen. So I started making meals for my roommates and for my friends and hosting dinners and like loving the experience around it. And then at the same time, a lot of the theater I was doing was experiential theater. So immersive theater, similar to Sleep No More. That was very, and Sleep No More, for those of you that don't know, is an interactive, like very sensory driven theatrical experience. And it takes place in New York City in this like amazing hotel on multiple floors. And like you're interacting in this, everyone's given a mask and you're interacting in the set with the actors. There are some one-on-one experiences, but it's like a totally different way to see live theater and performance. And I do really feel that food and performance are so intertwined in so many ways. And I started realizing, okay, well, I have this on-camera experience. I love performing. I love eating. I love entertaining. Oh shit, maybe I should follow this, because instead of studying my lines for the play and spending my time doing that, I'm spending my time in the kitchen making recipes and cooking and doing all sorts of things. I mean, one summer I was home, or no, it wasn't even a summer. It was a holiday break. and I turned on the Food Network, and I remember seeing Ina Garten make this like cookie recipe. And I was like, you know what, that seems pretty easy. I could probably do that. So I got into the kitchen and I baked these cookies. And then the next thing I know, I'm looking up all sorts of other cookie recipes. And the next thing I know, I have 5 cookie recipes that I want to bake. And then my mom came home like 3 hours later, and the kitchen, I'm straight up not kidding you, was filled with dozens of cookies, all different kinds. And she's like,
I love
what
it.
the hell are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't decide. They're so fun to make. Like, oh. And born from that was my first show called Make It Into a Cookie, where I would turn my favorite foods into cookies. And that was on the Spoon University YouTube channel. It's actually still there if you want to look at it.
Yes,
And
I
being
will.
able to be creative through food, and also, still be myself, performed for people. But at the end of the day, everyone's eating something delicious. That's kind of, long story short, where it all began.
No, that is amazing. That makes so much sense.
It's a good lesson in like following your passion. I think that a lot of people feel like, oh my God, because my whole family, when I told my parents I wanted to go to culinary school and work in a restaurant, they were like, you're supposed to be an actor. You went to college and studied theater and film. What are you doing?
Yep.
And they didn't really get it. And a lot of people in your life, if you're passionate about something, they may not get it. But if you continue to follow it and you really believe in yourself and know that you have the potential, if you have the credentials to get to that point, then there's nothing that can stop you.
Well, it sounds like you look at food and life around food through a different lens than most people in general. It sounds like, right?
Try to.
No, you do. You absolutely do. I don't think it's a try at all. But I think that's so important, right? I mean, like, you can look at a burger like that's just a burger, or you can look at the experience around the burger, what makes that burger exciting, this and that, whatever. And you definitely do that. What about, so when it comes to entertainment around food and maybe like creating content around food? You said that you were one of the first really to create these like really viral food videos, which I'll tell you, as an agency, we used to create all those things also way back in the day, and they worked. I mean, people like seeing food get made. Like, it's eye-catching, it's food porn, it looks fun, it makes you hungry. We had a formula that we kind of use on every video. Did you have any kind of formula you use, or did you kind of just, go for it each time? Or how did you approach some of these videos? Just kind of curious.
Yeah, I mean, so the Spoon University model was really interesting because essentially it was, it started out as a magazine on campus at Northwestern, a print food magazine.
Yep.
And then they launched a whole website, and they launched it over like 200 campuses around the world. But the whole idea is that it was student generated content. So when they were realizing that video was a really important part of, like putting their sticks in the ground to become something legit, I previously, like, my first gig that I ever booked was, I did entertainment news reporting for this website called celebtv.com. So I really understood the production side of things, and on camera and like short form video content.
Got it.
And so with the strategy behind everything, the way that we did it is we thought, okay, like, when you come up with a recipe, first of all, let's make sure that it is accessible to college students. So part of it could be you use pre-made pie dough, you use store-bought this. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what are the most important moments within the recipe that people are going to want to see? So you don't need to watch, if you're making, mini pies, you don't need to see all of the mini pies being made. You only need to see one of them being made. And then you can do a creative moment where they come onto the camera, where all the finished ones come onto the camera. So our recipe, if you will, for those videos was figuring out, okay, what is the recipe in the first place that people are going to like? And a lot of that was like aggressive spreadsheeting of looking at all of our competitors, their most viewed videos, what trends we were seeing within that, what commonalities people had based off of the success of each video. and how can we integrate that into our own. I think that the
Got it.
hardest piece of the puzzle throughout all of it was getting consistency, because I produced 60 videos a month. So
Oh my God.
it was nuts. I managed a team of 50 students, and we released 2 new videos a day. So
Oh my God.
the the explaining of like, all right, make sure you have natural light and you're near a window and it's not direct light. Make sure that here's a 45-degree angle, here's an overhead angle, have a clean surface, like don't have a reflective, like we had to explain so much to have
Totally.
this content be created.
Do you have video footage of this? You've explaining these things?
We actually created like a full class that was like a video class that we sent out to everyone. I'm not sure where it is. It's probably like on private on the Spoon University YouTube channel, but
Oh my God.
we eventually got to a point where we decided to film a whole class around it.
Is there any way that I can get that video? Well, no, I'll tell you this. So we actually just did a little tutorial video on how to create great looking food content, mostly just photography, just using, a standard iPhone, whatever, right? Or Android. And the reason we did it is because right now I believe we're with about 150 restaurant concepts. I mean, we've done hundreds, over 500 concepts at this point. And the biggest pain point for all these people is food content. So as advertisers, right, we're creating everything for our clients as far as the ad copy, the marketing automation, follow-up series, these kinds of things. But the one thing that we need from our clients in order to run our campaigns is great looking content. And it always shocks me and all my employees about how difficult it is for some people to get a decent looking photo of whatever it is. I mean, like, I should almost create a library of all the terrible pieces of content our clients have sent us as a joke.
I hate to say that I'm not surprised at all.
It's totally a pain point. I mean,
it is. I mean, what you should probably do is you should just like hit up as many. I mean, there's an endless amount of food photographers that exist, and if I were you, I would create like a network of food photographers that you offer a specific rate for a package of food video and photo content that they will create for your clients, just so that you have consistently solid, great work for people. Because it is true, like if your stuff sucks, no one's gonna, the space is far too competitive, plus
totally
with the combination of COVID and just everything being
here's always been my philosophy on great looking food content. It does two things for your business. One, if they see it online and gets them in the door for the first time, it does the marketing. And then the second half of the marketing is when someone's in the store and then now posts it to their fans. So it's the marketing and it's the sales. Or the other thing too you want to think about is like, let's just say you have a customer base coming in that doesn't speak perfect English, and maybe they can't understand your menu, but they can look at your Instagram and it can point around and say, that looks really good. You know what I mean? Or obviously, of course, with since COVID, right? It's because of all that's happening, and hey, people are ordering in home, right? They're ordering delivery or doing takeout. People make decisions, like you said, with their eyes. I mean, oh God, like it's the amount of attention that this gets blows my mind. The little amount of attention it gets, where it really deserves a lot more. But speaking of COVID, so you talk to us about the lineup, because I know that you guys have, what is it, a new kind of a cookbook well, just tell us more about that. I mean, that sounds like something relevant for the moment, right?
Yeah. So I used to cook in I went to, after Spoon, I left and went to culinary school, and then cooked at a restaurant called Lilia for a while, and really learned a ton there. I think it's really important for everyone to work in the restaurant industry if they want to work in the food world. But while I was there, I learned a lot, of course, from the executive chefs, but I also learned a massive amount from all of the line cooks. And it in the hierarchy of a restaurant, it takes a really long time to be able to become an executive chef. And it requires investors, it requires coming up with a concept, having the money and time to develop a menu and all that jazz. So when I left the industry, I realized that there is a massive need for providing these cooks with a platform to showcase their concepts. And that is kind of how the lineup was born. So the lineup it started as a dinner series where we highlight the top cooks working the line at the best restaurants in America, and we let them be executive chef for the night. So we will give them all of the support of helping them do the menu concepting, helping them curate what the dinner is going to look like, what the table settings will be, how many courses it's going to be, wine pairings, specialty cocktails, the whole thing. And then we will essentially create the ticketing process, sell the tickets, do pretty much everything you could want. And so right before COVID, we launched the series and we had our first dinner and it went so well and everyone loved it. And it was just like cloud nine vibes, like had the time of my life. And basically our team, we have a few front of house people. I work directly with the chef to help them with menu planning. And then I'm actually in the kitchen during the dinner, helping execute the meal with them. And when COVID hit, it just like completely devastated everyone and all restaurants were shut down and all my friends and people in the industry and line cooks were just so confused because they spent every day waking up early, being on their feet all day, really physically engaged. And then they were just sitting at home, not doing anything. And on top of that, they didn't have their consistent paycheck coming in. So what we decided to do is we decided to create a digital cookbook to still highlight these cooks and showcase what dishes they were making at home that were inspired by their restaurants. So we have had over 30 chefs, also people, bartenders, all sorts of things, create recipes, and we put them all into this digital cookbook called On the Line. And yeah, it's available for sale. 100% of the proceeds are divided up amongst the contributing cooks, and then also we've donated them to a few restaurant relief funds. So It was really fun to do. It was definitely a labor of love for sure. Any cookbook is, but we're really proud of what we created.
That's amazing. You said it's a digital cookbook?
Yes.
Is there a hard copy version as well?
We're trying to figure out logistics of that. It's been a journey. Since we are fully self-funded and all donation-based, putting like the payment down on hardcover is really intense. So we're probably going to start some type of like sign-up situation where we say, okay, here's the timeline. And if you buy a copy or 2 copies or whatever, it will directly go towards purchasing to make the hardcover happen.
Got it.
And then if hopefully we get enough money to do
Well,
it.
I might have a solution for you.
Really?
Yes. Okay, so I actually just released a book recently, and I don't have it on me. It's called Misfit Marketing for Restaurants, my first book I've ever written.
Congrats.
All about restaurant marketing. Thank you. It was a pain in the ass to write, but so well worth it, right? So cool. But we did it through Amazon Web Publishing.
Really?
And check this out. It's so amazing. So screw normal publishers. If you can go on the normal route, it's like the worst thing ever. It takes like over a year and is so much money and time. It's ridiculous. But Amazon Web Publishing is really cool. So you create your final copy. You obviously already have a digital version, so you guys are basically good to go, it sounds like. You submit to Amazon through the Amazon Web Publishing. No copies are ever printed until an order is made. Straight up.
Wow.
So someone makes an order and then they literally print it on the spot and ship it.
No way.
Sends
is
out
it
in like
hardcover?
Yeah, hardcover. Well, ours is paperback, but I'm sure you could.
That is so fancy.
Yeah. Now they do take a percent, right? So I think we sell this for $14.99 and they take like $6 or $7, right? But hey, there's no money down.
Fine.
It's
Amazon web printing. That's what it is. Will you send me that?
Amazon web publishing, but yeah.
Publishing.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's literally, I can't believe it. I mean, it makes
How did you hear about it?
Just through the
Through the
interwebs
grapevine?
of digital marketing people.
Respect.
I mean, it's going to be great for us because it's a way that, so our service is, it can get expensive, of course, right? But my goal is to help all restaurants and all restaurant owners grow their business. And so I thought, hey, the most affordable way I can help educate people is through a book, right?
Yeah.
And then after reading that book, I hope they have some insights that they can take to run with to actually help their business. And if they decide they want to move forward with us, well, they have a lot more information on what we're going to do from reading.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's a great way to live. And I mean, a quote that my grandpa used to say that I really try to, emulate is, he used to say, spread the lettuce, it comes back in sandwiches. So, give, and it's very fitting to what we both do. If you just give, great advice to people and offer services in some capacity, that energy, is going to come back to you in some way.
Totally. 100%. No, this is, yeah. I'm 100% on board with this kind of stuff, by the way. I mean, I'm reading a book right now. It's about, Buddhism and how it applies to business. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. It's called The Diamond Cutter, and it talks about all this stuff. It's the way that you actually perceive the world and the way that things happen to you are really like nothing in and itself. Any experiences, nothing is ever good or bad ever. I mean, even as crazy as it sounds, imagine, someone, the way you look at things, it becomes good or bad, right? So like when Hitler died, that was a great thing to happen. We didn't want this guy around. This guy's a terrible person, right? But to some people, his family and friends, it was a terrible thing, right? So nothing inherently is good or bad from its own side, but your perception of it. And I think, like you said, the act of giving things away changes your perception of things that are good, and things come back good to you. And I love that. I think that's really cool. Great quote. I'm about to use the last one in one of my ads, if you don't mind.
Yeah, shout out.
Using it.
As long as you quote.
I might have to. I will definitely reach out to you about this. Yes. Yes. Okay. And I mean, just random question, but obviously, a lot has changes here in the food space. What are the changes that you've seen specifically in the food space, and maybe what are some opportunities that you see in the space?
Totally. I think that, of course, a lot of the changes are, we can't enjoy dining out in the way that we used to. And I think that is, of course, so sad. But what is interesting about it is that a lot of people are being forced to cook at home and eat at home more than ever. So luckily for people in the food media space, it's been a very fruitful experience where people are now taking more time to read about recipes and purchase the cookware. And, I've been speaking to a few different food product manufacturers, and a lot of them are like, COVID sucks, but we're very blessed that our business is doing better than ever. So that is an opportunity there. I think there also is a really unique opportunity right now of, yes, a lot of restaurants are closing, but as a result, a lot of spaces that are fully set up with kitchens are just sitting there. So people that have maybe been nervous to make that leap to start their own concept, it's a great time to do it. And of course, needing to make sure that the seats are full are a massive component of it. But maybe even concepting a place or figuring out a way to make it work during COVID times is something that people can definitely attempt to do. Yep. I also think it's been really interesting seeing how restaurants have had to get creative with, selling creating pantries, selling packaged produce, doing grocery delivery services, food delivery services, cocktail delivery services. Every restaurant that I know has been pivoting to putting alcohol in, like, take a bottle of wine to go, take a mixed cocktail to go, pick up cocktails and drink them outside. Like, there's been this amazing like wave of outdoor drinking and enjoying that's been happening. I mean, the other day
Yes.
I was, right after the election, I was in Brooklyn, and Other Half Brewery just opened. I live in Williamsburg, so I was in Domino Park. And Other Half opened, and people were getting beers and drinking them outside. And then this like amazing bus came with like these performers that just like were singing on the roof with like a whole sound system and this
Awesome.
big band, and people are having beers and dancing, and other people are walking down the street with their cocktails from whatever restaurant that gave it to them, and they're like sippy cups. And I think that's just been really interesting, seeing this wave of food and beverage enjoyment anywhere. Um,
Yep.
and, you know, I hope it sticks around, seeing all of the, you know, restaurants in New York that are building these like little outdoor spaces.
Yeah.
There's some intense craftsmanship going on, and
I've seen some of this stuff.
it's been wild, but it's fun. It's really fun. It feels very European, so
I love it too. But what I always laugh about though is like we have this whole rule of COVID of like you can't do indoor dining, but then people are literally creating like these outdoor indoor tents. It's like what
I
the
know,
hell?
and that's one of the things that I've been so confused by and also like not thrilled about, is some of these places are like, great, we have to do outdoor dining, so let's essentially create a tiny restaurant that is all closed in where there's zero airflow. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
No. And people are going in and they're like, yeah, this is great. And I'm like, no, I'm terrified. Please.
Yeah, it's so funny to me.
Yeah,
People will find a way to do what they need to, you know. It's like
they will, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I think to your point about the whole like online media space, I mean, it's been booming obviously. And we had a client actually that did a really interesting strategy during COVID where he was doing these like date night boxes. And I think, you know, for a set price, it was, it was a date at home. And so you gave 2 entrees, 2 appetizers, and a dessert for 2. And I think it came with a cocktail or a bottle of wine or something too. It was really cool how the way they put it all together. And then it was for pre-orders, right? So you pre-order these boxes for 2. And then I think it was like 5 to 7, they do like a Zoom happy hour where everyone who got the dinner for 2 got invited to the Zoom happy hour and with other people. And then they also had like a bartender or like the wine sommelier, or how do you say it? So bad. And talk about what they were eating and drinking. And they had the chef come out and talk about the meal. I mean,
that's fun.
That's really cool, right?
I love that.
If the only thing they mess up on is probably having you describe the food, though, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah. But it was so cool. And I was like, this is such an interesting thing. And people really liked it. I mean, for me, like, I don't think I would join a Zoom happy hour with a bunch of random people, but I don't know. I think a lot of people would, right? I think especially during COVID, they crave social engagement, right? People need that. It's, you know, human nature. God, we want to engage with other people.
It is true. It's so sad. I miss it. I think there's going to be like a crazy, like roaring 20s type experience that happens once it's safe again to be outside. And it's going to be a really interesting time for, you know, new emerging talent to come into the culinary space, and it'll be really cool. It'll be wild, but we just got to hang in there until then.
Absolutely. And hopefully it's there soon. There's talks about this vaccine and stuff. So hopefully we're there. We're almost there. Well, Elena, this has been really incredible today. I think, man, I would love to somehow see this food content class tutorial you have. If there's any way,
I pick it up. It's somewhere in the internet, deep in the internet.
I could probably help you sell this, by the way.
Thank you.
If you did want to sell it, I have a lot of people probably listen to this podcast thinking, how do I get that? Let's talk about that though, because that's a big opportunity.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say there's a friend of mine, Sarah Crawford. She started this really great thing called Foodtography School, which is a digital class on food photography. They don't have video specific, but they have a lot of great stuff about food photography. And her handle's Broma Bakery, but you can also look at on Instagram, Foodtography School. And it is something that like I highly recommend for all of your clients from like a food photography.
So everybody listening, client or not, check out Foodtography School ASAP, yes, because you all need help when it comes to badass, delicious looking food content.
Yeah.
Elena, what about yourself? How do people follow you if they're listening? They're like, man, this chick sounds awesome. I want to know everything she's doing. How do they follow you? How do they stay in touch with you? What should they do?
Yes, thank you. It's pretty simple. Just hit me up at Elena Besser on Instagram, on YouTube. I tweet 5 times a year if you want to follow me on Twitter. Okay. And you can also catch me on Food Network Cooking Channel and Food Network Kitchen, so Food Network's app. You can watch Breakfast with Besser there as well. You could follow the lineup at the lineup dinner. Breakfast with Besser is a 6-episode series on the Food Network Kitchen app. I also do Food Network Kitchen's live classes every week, so you can tune in. Go grocery shopping in advance for all of the dishes and then make it live with me in real time and ask any questions. The Food Network Kitchen app has over 80,000 recipes. You can watch full Food Network episodes commercial free. And if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can get a free 1-year subscription to the Food Network Kitchen app. It is like, don't sleep on it. There's a lot of great stuff there. And I'm just trying to, help more people know about it, because a lot of people are like, what is this Food Network Kitchen? I don't know. Yeah. And let me tell you, it's the place to be.
That sounds amazing. Well, what we'll do on this podcast, by the way, and on this YouTube that we'll create, we'll put all your links below. So anyone who's listening or watching, you can access it through there. Elena, thank you so much for your time today. This has been incredible. Enjoy your time in LA. Let me know if you want any tips on restaurants in the area that you want to check out, and we'll be in touch real soon. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you so much. It was really great meeting you and chatting with you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Alrighty. See ya.